It's 2 in the morning and you can't sleep. The house is silent, but your mind is screaming because the numbers don't lie anymore. You've done everything they told you to do. You showed up early, you stayed late, you played by all the rules and waited patiently for your turn. But here you are, staring at a bank account that mocks your effort and a credit card bill that grows faster than your paycheck. The rent keeps climbing, the interest keeps compounding, and that stack of unopened envelopes on your kitchen counter has become a monument to a war you're losing. At some point, you have to stop blaming bad luck or the economy and start admitting the uncomfortable truth. This isn't about circumstances. This is about strategy. You're in a cold war, and right now, you're the one being conquered. The question is, are you ready to stop being a casualty and start becoming a strategist? 500 years ago, a man named Niccolo Machiavelli wrote something that still haunts the halls of power today. He said the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. Therefore, you must be both. You must be a fox to recognize the traps and a lion to frighten the wolves. If you're struggling right now, it's because you've been playing the lamb in a world that only respects predators. Forget everything you've been told about working harder and being patient. The people at the top aren't there because they're nicer or luckier than you. They're there because they understand something you don't. They know the game has rules that nobody teaches in school. While everyone else is chasing shiny trends and overnight success stories, the truly wealthy are following an ancient blueprint that's been refined over centuries. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it's devastatingly effective. The tragedy is that most people encounter these truths and treat them like interesting philosophy instead of practical weapons. They read about strategy and nod their heads, then go right back to doing the same things that keep them broke. They treat wealth building like poetry when it's actually a cold, calculated science. Today, I'm going to walk you through 7 secrets that separate the quietly powerful from the loudly struggling. These aren't just money tips. These are psychological weapons for a modern financial war. This isn't about being good or moral. This is about being effective. And if you ignore the final secret, the first 6 will not only fail you, they'll be used against you by people who understand the game better than you do. By the time we finish, you won't just be another dreamer with vision boards and affirmations. You'll be someone with an actual plan. Let's start with the first secret, and it might surprise you because it has nothing to do with money at all. Wealth begins with the complete reconstruction of your own mind. Machiavelli once said that whoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. Before you chase a promotion, before you obsess over your bank balance, before you do anything external, you need to fix what's internal. Most people are out there begging the world for more money, but the world is asking them a much more brutal question. Are you actually capable of handling power? Because money isn't a moral force, it's a magnifier. It accelerates whatever you already are. If you're undisciplined and reckless right now, $1 million is just $1 million disaster waiting to explode. Look at lottery winners who go bankrupt within 3 years. They didn't have a money problem, they had a character problem. Compare that to the Medici family of Renaissance Florence. They didn't start as royalty, they started as money changers who used superior intelligence to outmaneuver every competitor in sight. They understood that if you're wise, every dollar becomes a soldier in your army, working to conquer more territory while you sleep. When an average person gets a bonus, they react emotionally. They buy something flashy to impress people they don't even like. When a strategist gets that same bonus, they see it as a seed for a future stronghold. They study, they plan, they think 3 moves ahead. Your enemies don't need to rob you if they can keep you unteachable. If they can make you roll your eyes at advice and say, "I already know that," while your debts pile higher, they've already won. Before you ask for a higher income, demand a higher level of wisdom from yourself. Study how power moves, learn how capital flows, understand human psychology. Do this not because you love money, but because you refuse to be its slave. Once you master your internal world, you must master something even more difficult, your external presence. This brings us to the second secret, and it's one that goes against everything social media has taught you: the power of total silence. Machiavelli taught that a prince must be a great pretender and dissembler, because in the theater of power, your greatest vulnerability is being known. We live in a world where everyone is screaming for attention, posting every meal, announcing every small victory to an audience that doesn't care. Meanwhile, the truly powerful move like ghosts. Most of you lose battles not because you lack talent, but because you cannot keep your mouth shut. You share your ideas before they're realized. You announce your plans before you've taken the first step. You broadcast your dreams to people who have neither the vision nor the character to support them. You're essentially handing your enemies a detailed map to your headquarters before you've even built the walls. Think about the wealthiest people you know, the real ones, not the influencers. You won't find the architects of global finance wearing loud logos or posting motivational quotes. They understand that loud money is a target, but quiet money is a fortress. When you announce a plan, you invite three deadly things: envy from people who don't want to see you rise, sabotage from those who see your progress as a threat to their own position, and pressure from expectations that force you to make rushed, emotional decisions. Imagine planting a seed in the ground. If you keep digging it up to show your neighbors how much it's grown, you destroy the roots. Your wealth needs darkness to grow. It needs the privacy of the soil to develop strong foundations. For the next 30 days, I challenge you to treat your moves like classified information. Let the world see results, never process. Work in the shadows so that by the time people realize you're a threat, the game is already over.
Now, here's where most people make a fatal mistake. They confuse effort with effectiveness. They think suffering equals success. This brings us to the third secret, and it's the difference between slaves and sovereigns, the strategy of intelligent force over mindless labor. Most people believe grinding is the path to wealth. They show up early, stay late, exhaust their bodies and minds, yet remain stuck in the exact same place year after year. They're like someone swinging a dull axe with all their might, sweating and bleeding, but only producing splinters. Success isn't about how much you suffer, it's about the sharpness of your blade. Machiavelli noted that innovators make enemies of all those who prospered under the old order. If you're working hard but not smart, you're operating under an outdated system designed to keep you as labor, not leadership. Look around you. The person working 80 hours a week at a job they hate is often out-earned by the strategist who spends 4 hours a week optimizing a system, delegating to technology, or identifying one market gap that others are too exhausted to see. You're not lazy, you're ineffective. Your axe is dull, and you're trying to compensate with excess effort, which is a recipe for burnout, not breakthrough. The elite don't value busyness, they value leverage. They ask, what's the one move that makes 10 other moves unnecessary? They automate the mundane. They master high-value skills that can't be easily replaced. They constantly sharpen their minds through study and observation. If you don't stop to sharpen your blade, you'll eventually break. The enemy loves keeping you busy because a busy person never has time to think, and a person who doesn't think is easily controlled. Ask yourself honestly, is your current work actually moving the needle, or are you just proud of how tired you are? But even if you move in silence and work with precision, there's a structural flaw that can destroy everything in a single night. Most people build their entire lives on one pillar, one job, one client, one income source. In a world of chaos and competition, a single pillar is nothing more than a decorated trap. This is the fourth secret, and it's absolutely critical: the architecture of multiple dependencies. Machiavelli warned that he who relies least on fortune has the strongest hold on his state. In modern terms, if you depend on one paycheck, you're not a master, you're a hostage. You're walking a fraying tightrope over a canyon. One corporate restructuring, one algorithm change, one policy shift, and your entire world collapses. The elite don't play that game. They build fortresses with multiple bridges, so that if one burns, the kingdom stays connected. Look at the great banking dynasties throughout history. They didn't just own banks, they owned mines, shipping routes, and the debt of kings. They understood that diversification is the only real defense against catastrophe. For you, this means creating several independent streams of leverage, not scattered side hustles that distract you, but strategic outposts. You need a main career for cash flow, a skill you can monetize independently if that career vanishes, and assets that grow while you sleep. When you have 5 sources of income, you possess a psychological power that makes you immune to threats from any single boss or client. The person with 1 income is a servant. The person with 7 is sovereign. If your primary source of money stopped tomorrow, how long before panic sets in? If that question makes your stomach turn, you've built a house of cards, not a fortress. Once your fortress stands, you need to understand how to interact with the world to keep it secure. This is the 5th secret, and it's wildly misunderstood: strategic generosity as a weapon of power. Machiavelli knew that he who causes another to become powerful is the ruin of himself, but he also understood calculated giving. Real generosity in the strategic sense isn't soft charity, it's the deliberate distribution of resources to create social debt and alliances. When you give correctly, you're not losing capital, you're buying loyalty, information, and insurance. The Medici spent fortunes on public works and art, not just because they loved beauty, but because they were buying the soul of Florence. By becoming the greatest patrons of their age, they made themselves indispensable. They turned wealth into an unbreakable shield. In your life, this means being generous where it creates maximum leverage. Help a rising star who will remember you. Contribute to communities that will protect your interests when times get hard. Be the hand that feeds, because the hand that feeds is the hand that rules. If you're stingy and hoard every cent in fear, you become a target for envy and an easy victim for rivals. But if you give intentionally, you weave a web of obligations that makes you untouchable. Every dollar you invest in another person should be a scout sent out to bring back 10 more in the form of favor, access, or protection. If your bank statement shows only personal consumption and fear, you're missing the greatest investment vehicle in existence: human debt. But here's where it all falls apart for most people. They get impatient. They want the crown without the campaign. This is the 6th secret, and it destroys more wealth than any market crash: the iron law of consistency and incremental accumulation. Machiavelli observed that people are so inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims. This is why masses rush toward shortcuts, crypto schemes, and one-click miracles. They want a breakthrough without a foundation. But the elite know that real wealth isn't a lightning strike. It's the result of 1,000 small, disciplined choices. It's the boring work of building a fortress stone by stone.
The great merchant families didn't start by owning the world. They started by mastering one trade, then one route, then one region. They gathered little by little because they understood that the enemy uses shortcuts to lure you into ambushes. Countless people have lost life savings because impatience was louder than strategy. They wanted to double their money in a month and ended up with nothing. Imagine 2 people. One is a speculator gambling on high-risk plays because slow climbs insult his ego. He makes fortunes and loses them twice as fast. The other is a strategist who saves a fixed percentage with religious discipline, invests only in what he understands, and refuses to chase hype. Years later, the speculator is still hunting the next big thing, while the strategist has built a safety net so large it's become a launch pad. Discipline isn't glamorous, but it's ultimate power. Most people don't fail because they weren't capable. They fail because they couldn't wait. Which brings us to the 7th and final secret, the one that holds everything together. Even if you possess wisdom, silence, efficiency, diversification, generosity, and discipline, there's one element that decides if your house stands or falls under its own weight: the foundation of brutal realism and respect for how power actually works.
Machiavelli wrote that the way people live is so far removed from how they ought to live that he who abandons what is done for what ought to be done will learn to bring about his own ruin. The final secret is never letting wealth make you soft or deluded. Without grounding in reality, wisdom becomes manipulation, discipline becomes empty pride, and wealth becomes a golden cage waiting for a predator to lock the door. The elite understand that money is a tool, not a god. If you build your empire assuming everyone is your friend or that markets will always be kind, you're building on sand. Realism means letting truth correct your plans even when they look profitable on paper. It means having clarity to say no to deals that compromise your foundation. If you doubled your income tomorrow, would it make you more effective, or would it quietly pull you into comfort and vulnerability? The final secret is building your finances on unshakable respect for how the world actually works. Strategy breaks the chains of poverty. Wisdom builds the house of wealth, but brutal respect for reality is what keeps that house standing when the storms come. We've covered 7 protocols: the transformation of mind, the weapon of silence, the efficiency of sharp tools, the fortress of diversification, the leverage of strategic generosity, the power of consistency, and the foundation of realism. Don't try to master all 7 at once. Choose one for the next week and live it with total focus. Maybe it's finally choosing silence over validation. Maybe it's sharpening skills instead of just working more hours. Or maybe it's surrendering ego and building a budget that respects reality. What you do after hearing this determines whether you remain a victim of the economy or become an architect of it. The game is changing. Make sure you're the one making the moves.